Hello everybody, I hope you're doing well. My name is Fraser Waldron. In this video, I'm going to talk about the concept of following your intuition and specifically how to do that by using a leaning into technique that I've used in the past. So I think that if you follow your intuition and you avoid the Jungian neurosis, which I'll define in a minute, then your life will be more meaningful and you'll feel like you'll have less regrets in your life in a general sense, and you'll be doing things that you actually want to do as opposed to doing things you think you need to do, which are two distinct concepts. So I'm going to give you some examples of my life where I've had this exact problem and over a decade switched it to living a life that's way more meaningful for me. So I want to share that with you guys. So first thing is, what the hell is Jungian neurosis? So Carl Jung is a famous psychologist after Freud, for example, and he had one of his ideas among many was the concept of the Jungian neurosis, which was essentially where a person over a long period of time has an intuition to go in one direction, but their conscious mind overrides that intuition and they go a different direction. And this creates a neurosis by which you are at odds with yourself. And this is it's a reductionist, it's a simplified version of this, but this is a nice way to think of yourself to an extent. Your subconscious, which is the majority of your brain activity, guides you with vision. It's follow your dreams, follow your instinct, follow your intuition. Keep your soul clean, your conscious clean by following your dreams. That's the direction where you, the wider you with a capital Y, wants to go. And then your conscious mind actually sits either even with that or below it. It's not above your subconscious to an extent. Because if you put your conscious mind above and you let that lead, you might be in alignment, but you might not be in alignment. So I prefer to perceive it as your subconscious points in the direction it wants to go, and then your conscious mind guides you. It's kind of like, I've always wanted to be a doctor. I see myself wanting to be a doctor. So my conscious mind, says, hey, we got to study for that because you got to get into medical school. That's kind of what I'm talking about, right? Or a more simple version is your subconscious generates the feeling of hunger, and then your conscious mind goes, nah, let's have a sandwich instead of a chocolate bar, or vice versa, because you're making a decision. It's like your sober second thought or your decision-making tool to guide you where you want to go. So if you're in the neurosis state, a classic example would be you grew up and you wanted to be a painter. I've always wanted to be a painter. I'm a beautiful artist. But when you are 15 or 16, your mother or your father says, hey, painters never make money. And like, if you want to ever get married one day, you got to become a lawyer or something. And so you become an accountant or something. Good job, very honorable. But you really don't want to do that. So you grind away for 20 years. And then at the end of the 20 years, you end up just going, fuck it. I quit my job. I have a midlife crisis because I'm in this neurosis. I want to come into henosis, which is, again, a separate term, actually. It's not the opposite of the Jungian neurosis, but for this context, let's just use it like that. I come into alignment. My subconscious says, artist, my conscious mind finds a way to do it. And maybe we get a job as a barista and paint on the side. Could be a compromise, right? But you're in alignment. You're moving, even if a little bit, in the right direction. So how does this relate to yours truly? When I was growing up, I always wanted to be in the military. This was like my dream. I always wanted to do that. When I was growing up, I used to run through my parents' neighborhood, which was forested. I'd wear camouflage. I'd hide in trees and stuff. There's a military base in my hometown, and I would occasionally, like if I drove by it, I would just stare out the window, face against the glass, really excited about that. But I was terrible with women, and I got a girlfriend when I was 16, and I said, I want to join the military. And this is the only girl who ever liked me, by the way. So this was, intense for me in my naive 16-year-old brain. And she said something along the lines of, if you join the army, that's it. I'll be gone. You'll never have friends. You'll never have relationships. She really jammed that in there. I was still motivated to do the army, so I actually joined part-time the reserves. So I actually did my basic military qualification. I was I was into it. But the whole time I was getting messages from her being like, you're ruining us. And I was like, oh, okay. So I essentially joined and then quit because I was like, it's this relationship, which will never, ever happen again. Obviously false, but at the time that made sense in my mind. Or it's this career, which, maybe I can do something different. So I actually picked a career path, which was adjacent. So I said, I'm going to become a police officer because it's kind of the army, there's guns and there's, maybe it's kind of similar and I can live in a city and have a normal life, And so that was my compromise. And I have no regrets being a police officer. I did good work. Like I tried to be super cop as much as possible. And I've had a great career. I worked internationally with Interpol. I've done a bunch of wild stuff, no regrets. But there was a neurosis there where I was like, I really want to join the Army, but I'm actually in the police force. So if I saw like a guy in Army fatigues, I'd be like, oh, what's he doing? If I drove by like the recruiting station, I'd be like, oh, like what's going on over there? So I always had this kind of sense of like this kind of like this pull where I'm going in opposite directions. And this was relatively traumatizing over time. So eventually how I discovered to fix that was I found my lean in principle, which is whenever I have that intuition, that desire to get pulled in a direction, the vision I see in my mind, often it's comes with resistance. I see myself in this one domain. As soon as I start to move towards it, I feel like a fear or resistance. I'm just use that term as a generic term. Resistance towards moving to where I really want to go out of a fear of failure maybe, or fear of something. And so I thought, oh, I'm going to use that fear as a flag. Whenever I feel that intuition, fear, whenever I feel that resistance, that's my cue to move even further into it. It's the Stoic quote, what's in the way is the way. So what prohibits action is what should advance your action towards that goal or vision. So I couldn't do the military because I had 2 back surgeries. I was essentially disabled. So there's no way I'd pass the medical. Fine, that's dead and gone. But I did, from that position, once I had this cue, I thought, what can I do next? And one of the things I did was I ran for member of parliament in one of the Vancouver ridings in Canada. So for federal parliament, which is a crazy idea. I went to go volunteer just for fun. I saw there was an opportunity to run and there's a need. And I thought, oh, this is something I can do. I do the politics. I'm deep in the weeds when it comes to finance and politics in general. My undergrad was in politics. My master's was in international relations. This is a note I can sing. And so I, for 6 to 9 months, went full in on that. I worked full time at my normal job, but then also I was doing politics full on. It was a crazy run rate. I took like no days off, just absolutely flat out. And in the end, it actually worked out poorly. My main advisor stabbed me in the back essentially, and it was a fantastic story. I'll do another video on it, but it essentially blew up at the end. But if I look back at that period of time, because I was in that state of henosis, let's say, or that state of oneness where my intuition said this is the path and my conscious mind guided me through it, I actually have 0 regrets about that period of time. I actually perceive it as one of the happiest times in my life, even though it was the busiest, because what I was doing was meaningful to me, and because it was orientated to serving others and like you could even use religious language, like for God, or like what God called me to do, or what I knew my intuition wanted, or how I could serve others the best, to be good in nature, in the logos, because it served my highest ideal. I had 0 regrets, even though it blew up in the end. It's a good story. I'll do a little video on that one day for the comedy show or something. Anyways, and so essentially after that experience, I thought that's it. That was like not the happiest is the wrong term, but that was the most meaningful 6 months of my life, because I was exactly in line where I needed to go. So now essentially when on my day-to-day basis, I'm essentially just waiting for the flag of that resistance, and I go, that's where the work is. And essentially I just follow that religiously, and my life has been extremely meaningful since I've done that. And it can even be stupid stuff. Like, I'll give you an example. It's like that Stoic discipline video I made a little ago. It's the same idea. I was in the Philippines like recently, and I was walking by McDonald's, and it was full of Filipinos, like packed. It was like 2 a.m, like just 50 people or about 30 people like in the waiting room or whatever, like where you order, and they were just kind of sit. There weren't many chairs. There's just a lot of people. And I love McDonald's. Like, I'm a fan. I admit it. Every country I go to McDonald's right away because it's, my safe place. And as I'm walking by, I'm like, shit, I am actually pretty hungry. I want to go in there. But for some reason, it was like stressful to go. I was like, ooh, like there's people, like, oh, I'm the only foreigner. Like, it's not a tourist area. It wasn't dangerous, but I just thought, I had this weird feeling. But then I was like, oh, there's the feeling. It's a flag. Move towards it. So I just like awkwardly approached the McDonald's and like opened the door, and I could feel like my heart starting to race because, I don't know, it was just my brain had a stroke or something. And I was like, no, this is good practice. So I open the door, I go in, I order my double cheeseburgers, like I make a friend, we like high five. I eat on the side of the road. There's some rats on the side of the road. There's a dumpster and there's some rats. So I feed the rats. So I'm like Shredder with or whatever. I had made rat friends and I fed them. It's good. And then I continued on my way, and it was a good experience. But the key part of that, minus the rats, is that I followed my intuition. I wanted to do that. And I forced my conscious mind to navigate that space. And that's the same feeling I get even when I'm making, like, for example, like these videos. I get the sense that like, ooh, like someone might judge me on my video or whatever the case may be. I feel resistance, and that flag means that that's exactly what I need to do. And then here I am making this video. So when I'm done this video, for example, my day will be good because I know I've done what my subconscious wanted me to do. My conscious mind just executes, but my subconscious leads the way. It's kind of like the subconscious has like a sort of a general map. It goes north. We're going north. And then I'm the guy on the rigs and the boat, like in the sails moving the rudder, the conscious mind. So that's something interesting. So intuition, here's the summarization, I guess. Intuition, follow it, lean into things as much as possible, and then life is meaningful. And I'll give you one last example, because I've given you like positive examples where I've done things where it's been like positive to an extent. This also applies for things that are extremely difficult. So for example, in one of the last organizations I worked for, and this is a short version of the story, it's more complex than this, but essentially there was like a bad guy within the organization. And as soon as I joined, he was not well. So what he would do is he would kind of like try to bully everyone because his contract worked. So he kind of hold the contract over you and try to like fire you essentially. And when I got there, it was like right away, like everyone told me about this guy in advance, but he was being mean to me, but mean to everyone. And I had this intuition where I was like, I need to defend myself, but also defend everyone else in my little team. And I'm just gonna, and like what you should do, intuition, my vision was like, I just need to like, not attack, that's the wrong term, but I need to forcefully deal with the threat essentially. And so that wasn't pleasurable. I could have quit that job. I could have left. It would have been much easier just to leave or just to ignore it. I was actually in a different country. We were in two different countries, this guy, but he was the guy who ran the whole division essentially, or department. And I thought, nah, this is something I need to do. And so I spent like a year and a half battling with HR, very low percentage chance of winning that battle. But I just told the truth. And I was like, here's what this guy's doing. It's bad. I got a few other people in that team to sort of support me. We all kind of went together, but I led the charge, let's say. And in the end, they were able to remove that person, and hopefully he got some mental health support and it worked out for him or whatever. But like two people in the group of people working actually called me like tearful, like, thank you so much. Like it was terrible over here where we were. And I was like, hey, I got you. But it was a really uncomfortable time, super stressful. But when I knew I had to do it because my intuition was like, you are obligated to do this. And sometimes the way I feel about it, it's like I'm loose, like my body parts are all like adjacent, floating around, like I'm not one unit. I kind of feel loose. And then when I have that intuition to move towards something, like in this case, sort of go against this bad guy, I just I feel really dense, but there's still fear there. There's resistance, but I feel like that density. And then I just go lean in, lean in, lean in. And as soon as I lean in, then I feel like my confidence rises, the courage gets enabled, let's say, and then I'm just able to action. So I have zero regrets battling that dude for a year and a half. It probably gave me like some gray hairs for sure. Like it was not a pleasurable experience in the slightest, but it was really meaningful because I knew I was doing the right thing for a higher purpose, and I felt really in line with myself. And that's the key thing. My soul was clean, my conscience was clear, and I think that's from a philosophical point of view, the most important thing you can say about yourself. So where your intuition guides you to do things, sometimes it will not be pleasant, but you are obligated, I would say, internally, if you want to keep your soul intact or your conscience clean, to execute that. And the way I do that is the cue of leaning in. Where there's that resistance, where there's that fear, I go, that's the flag, that's the North Star. I just follow that feeling, and on the other side of that feeling is a sense of meaning and a sense of accomplishment, even if the outcome is trash. If I had failed against that bad guy and they had fired me from that organization for whatever reason, and that was the highly likely scenario, I was happy with that outcome because I was intact, right? And I'd done what I was supposed to do. I didn't quit the army because the girl told me to. I stuck with it, And so then I'm actually happy that happened because now I can teach you that so you don't have to make that mistake. Or if you are making that mistake, because I think most people are, then there's a tactical way you can maneuver around that. So I hope that was useful. I know that was a lot of information. I got lots of different examples about that, and I'll do in other videos. But yeah, follow your intuition, let your conscious mind be your sober second thought, and lean into it because what's in the way is the way. So hope you have a great day. I'll talk to you on the next video.